All right, guys, so we're all done with the roof. She's looking all pretty now. Hopefully I was able to help you guys figure out some steps to making it. Dude. All right, guys, so the roof here is all done. No, I don't know what I'm gonna say. Now she's looking real good. Hopefully this video was able to, Hey guys, I'm Matt. Today I'm gonna show you guys how to wrap a roof on a Nissan GTR. So first off, we're gonna go ahead, we took our measurements already. The roof is gonna be about 48 by 48 inches. We'll go ahead, we roll out of material. I try to cut it as close to exactly, give myself about a 1 or 2 inch buffer. We try to use as least material as possible so that you have as much material left over to continue wrapping other panels, other projects, you name it. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this panel out real fast.
Matt, what is that?
This? This is a template that we use to pre-cut out antennas in case you don't want to remove it or if it's difficult to remove. So I actually went ahead and took the measurement based off of that in terms of where to put it as well. So you find the center of your vinyl, and the antenna on this GTR is 4 inches from the rear. So and then you give yourself about an inch buffer. So we'll go ahead and move it up about another inch or so. And then when you're pre-cutting this out, you want to give yourself about a 1/4 inch all the way in.
So Matt, why do you always want to give yourself a little bit more room?
Because we like to tuck underneath the antennas to get full coverage, and it helps with the longevity of the wrap itself. And it gives you a little buffer in case you don't place it exactly where you want it the first time. Boop. That looks horrible. So, just for ease of my mind, I'm gonna go ahead and just make that look a little prettier. All right, so before our install, we go ahead and we do a quick wipe down of the panel you're gonna do, and then we're gonna go ahead and clay bar as well, gets rid of any of the contaminants, any little tree sap imperfections that will be resting on top of the paint, give it a nice smooth surface. All right, so we're gonna go over our tools that we're gonna need for the project. So to start off, we need a card and some buffer. Get those at any online retailer that sells any kind of wrap supplies. I personally use the Paint is Dead Pro Glove. It's fantastic. You can find them cheaper elsewhere as well on the internet. You're gonna need a blade with a blade holder, and a micro squeegee will make your life a lot easier. So now that we got all of our tools ready, we're gonna go ahead from one of the final steps before we lay the panel. We take a tack rag. It's just a plain old rag with some adhesive on it to get any loose dust, lint, anything that would have fallen onto your panel. In the meanwhile, just go over it very lightly. Now that we got our panel lined out, our pre-cut for our antenna, you want to make sure is oriented right over the antenna. Make sure all your corners and all your edges are covered with the panel. We're going to go ahead, we're going to peel it back about a 1/4 of the way, with the antenna all lined up. And then what we'll do after that is we'll just peel the rest of it and glass it out. So now that we got our panel all glassed out, we're gonna go ahead and take your squeegee with the buffer on it and start carting it all out.
All right, Matt, you had a buddy help you out there for the roof. Do you need someone else, or?
You don't necessarily need someone else to help you out with the roof. Obviously, there's a different technique. If you do it by yourself, you would more start in one corner and work towards your opposite corner, trying to keep the vinyl glassed out as possible, and then you would work your 4 corners to get it all glassed out. Doing it with 2 people, I personally recommend. Makes it a lot easier, a lot smoother. You get even tension across all your edges, less risk for dirt getting underneath your wrap. 2 people's the way to go. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go around the antenna. We're gonna tack everything down around the antenna and make sure that we do have our full coverage around it. The next part we're gonna do, we're gonna go over a couple different methods of doing corners, some wrong ways, some okay ways, and then the optimal way of doing the corner. So on this side, we'll go ahead and we'll start with the wrong ways. So we're gonna draw a line down the middle of our panel, go ahead and squeegee out all the air, going at about 45-degree angle, all the way down. Do not go full edge to edge. I usually leave about 3 to 4 inches towards the edge. Make sure we can have our air escape through the air channels.
How much pressure are you using there?
6 Newton meters.
6 Newton meters?
I do not know how to explain the pressure.
Pretty hard?
Yeah, you do want to press pretty firmly. You want to make sure you get all the air out. So like right here, you can kind of see I didn't quite press hard enough and now there's some air, but you can go ahead and just massage out any air bubbles that you would find. So we're gonna go ahead and start this front corner. This is going to be the wrong way to do your corner, where you cart all the way up to the corner and then you pick it back up. Pick it up probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches. Give it some heat. And if you pull too hard, especially on more vibrant colors, it'll actually color stretch out. Now, sometimes if you get a little bit of color stretch, you can reverse it just by picking it up and giving it some heat and letting it shrink back down to its natural state. Just like that.
So Matt, does everyone need a torch for install?
So I personally use a torch. We use a torch here at the shop for most things, especially on gloss finish. It's just a faster way, but you can use a hair dryer if that's what's accessible to you, or you can go and purchase a heat gun, which does work very well. Instead of carting all the way up to the corner, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give ourselves a few inches of a buffer towards the corner, and then we'll pick it up from there. And kind of same thing as before, we'll give it some heat. You just want to go light heat to where it feels pliable, very stretchy, and you're just going to use a little bit of force. What I like to do is kind of visualize where our corner is going to be, and I'll put my fingers there to start with, pick it up, and you're just going to pull, and then bring your fingers out and seal down that corner. And you're going to go ahead and card your air out both your sides. Now, I don't recommend this particular method just because you have the risk of leaving a glue line where you stopped carding and you start stretching it. So here, we're gonna cold stretch this corner. Same method, finding out where my corner's at and pulling out and sealing that corner now. And then what you'll do after that to get these little wrinkles out is you just go opposite sides, pull out, glass that out, and start carding.
So Matt, when you say glass it out, what do you mean?
So glass out, you want to make it look like the vinyl is already stuck, like it is the finished product. So clearly, this is not glassed out, but all of this is.
You're basically just trying to make it as flat as possible.
Yep, as flat as possible. You want to pretty much already conform to the panel and just ready to squeegee out. You see here, this is not glassed out. This is a really good example of it. And if you card over that while it's not glassed out, you can start wrinkling up your vinyl. Now, it's not a huge deal if you get a wrinkle right off the bat. What you can always do, just like the corner with the color, you just pick it up, give it a little bit of heat with your torch, your heat gun, or your hair dryer. Heat the entire area you just lifted, and you're gonna wanna go ahead and just keep a little bit of tension going on it, keep it nice and glassed out, and then you'll go ahead and just re-stretch your corner. Now, you see here, it doesn't look very glassed. It's because we went ahead and added heat and stretched it. And what we can do is we can go back, we'll just pick it up. And we'll let the vinyl shrink itself back down. And no matter which direction you're carding, try to keep that 45 degrees and overlap your strokes.
Why do you want to overlap, Matt?
Just to make sure you get all your air out. So if you just keep going straight and you just try to go line to line, what will happen is you might just miss a little bit going down. And then if you keep going, you're now left with a bubble.
What should people do if they get a bubble?
Sometimes you can massage the bubble out, just like that. Or if the bubble doesn't seem like it wants to release any of the air, just like the wrinkle, you can go ahead and pick the vinyl back up and start over on that corner. So now we've got the whole panel laid out. It's all carded to our edges, all of our corners are stretched, our antenna's tucked up too. So what we're gonna go ahead and do now is we're gonna start finishing out our edges. We'll go ahead and start with this side. So I personally like to cut off all my excess material. You just have to be very careful of where your blade is at so you don't go ahead and cut the vinyl that you already laid or avoid the paint.
How much excess should they leave?
I like to give myself a couple inches. It just makes it a little easier to manage so it's not tacking to all your other panels while you're trying to tuck it. So then we're gonna go ahead, pick it all up to the edge, and you take your card and just slowly work it around the corner. Or you can take your wrap glove, and what you'll do is you'll just take your thumb and just ride the edge. So now we got a glass edge here. This is a gasketless window. So what we can do on this particular car is you can take your blade and you only want to stick it out just a little bit. Less risk of cutting the paint behind it or anything like that. You're gonna find your glass edge and just ride the edge of the glass. You can put your blade against the glass, it will not cut it. And then when I get to my corner, I leave myself just a little extra. And then what I do from here, go ahead and just massage that corner down a little bit, kind of working it each way. And then here, do the same thing. You'll take your finger, ride your edge, get it right past that apex, and then you can take your buffer side and go ahead and tuck it in there. And then now we got all that side tucked. We're gonna go ahead, pick up from this corner. We're gonna push the vinyl down and working away from the corner. And then once I get pretty close to the halfway point, I'll go over to my next corner and do pretty much the exact same thing. And this front windshield does have a gasket on it. So I'll go ahead and we're gonna cut it very similarly to how we did that back window, except we gotta be a little bit more careful as there is a rubber gasket there. So same thing, small amount of blade, find your edge, and then once you get to where you're done, just go straight up so you don't worry about cutting any other panels. So for this particular gasket, it's easy just to push down into it. Some gaskets actually go over the top of the edge, and that's where you'll want to use your micro squeegee. And what you'll be able to do there is you'll be able to just put your micro squeegee underneath that seal, and you'll use this to deflect the seal away from the vinyl. And then you take your card and put it right behind it, and you'll just slowly work your way all the way down. This particular gasket doesn't need to do this, but if yours does, that's how you do it. And then the final step for this side is you are gonna wanna cut out all of this vinyl. So I do know this particular car, the root gutter rail that comes here does sit pretty flush up to the top of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to go at least 1/4 to 1/2 inch past that for full coverage, and it will look better and it will last longer. And you're gonna wanna use very light pressure. What I recommend is you go ahead and you can put some scrap pieces of vinyl actually you have laying around and just do some practice cuts. You can put 2 pieces of vinyl on top of each other and just try to cut only the top layer. If you cut through both, you have cut your paint. And when you're peeling your vinyl up after you have cut it, you wanna do it slowly just in case you maybe didn't cut deep enough. If you go ahead and rip it right off and you didn't cut deep enough from the spot, it will tear into your panel. You're gonna go back, you're gonna seal down that edge. You're gonna hit that corner with some heat, let it relax. You always want your vinyl as relaxed as possible before you cut it. So now that we got all of our edges finished out, our corners are nice and relaxed, they're all tucked, all the vinyl was pushed down and good to go. From carding your vinyl, sometimes it can leave what we call micro scratches on top of the film. Typically not a very big deal. Micro scratches and any kind of film that's left over that manufacturers put on their film can be heated out. So you just take your torch or your heat gun and you just slowly go over it. It gets rid of any and all scratches, any waxes, oils, and this will also help you determine whether or not there's air left over in your panel. Cool, and then we got one final step after you get everything cut out. That's gonna be your antenna. If you're able to remove your antenna, that would be the most ideal way. Some cars are very hard to remove those. So what you're gonna do is, this is the material we have left over after our pre-cut from our template. And you can see the antenna is taped off still. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim back that vinyl just a little bit more using light pressure once again. And what I like to do, I like to leave a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch of material, and that's what we're gonna go ahead and tuck underneath. That's about the amount of material you'll want left over. Some antennas you'll be able to lift it up, move it around. Some are have a little bit more play, and then you'll be able to just take your card and tuck it underneath here. This one is not going to be the case, so what you'll do is you'll take your micro squeegee, just like we showed on the front windshield, and you're going to get it under there, and then use your card to finish it out. All right guys, we finished up the roof. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Go ahead and like and subscribe, support the channel. We're gonna put a link in the description down below for all the tools that we use. And go ahead and drop a comment below if you guys want to suggest any other tutorials on what to wrap. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.